Netflix'in yeni dizisi Jupiter's Legacy, kahramanlık algısını sorgulayan Mark Millar'ın kaleminden çıkan bir çizgi roman uyarlaması ve bu videoda sizinle çok eğlenceli röportajlarla dolu keyifli sohbetler paylaşacağız. Ama öncelikle size sormak isterim. Daha önce MillarWorld'ü duydunuz mu? Duymadıysanız bile Kick-Ass, Kingsman veya Wanted filmlerini izlemiş olabilirsiniz. İşte bunlar daha birçok hikayeyle birlikte İskoç çizgi roman yazarı Mark Millar'a ait olan çizgi romanlar. Mark Millar ismini hiç duymamış da olamazsınız. Çünkü kendisi yine sinemada büyük ses getiren Marvel'ın İç Savaş hikayesinin ve Logan filminin uyarlandığı Old Man Logan çizgi romanının yazarı. Marvel ve DC ile uzun yıllar çalıştıktan sonra kendi hikayelerini kendi şirketinin altında yazan Millar'ın sinematik evreninin tüm yayın hakları da şu an Netflix'te. Ve Netflix ünlü yazarın onlarca çizgi romanını birer birer uyarlamaya başlarken bunun ilk adımı Jupiter's Legacy oldu. Dizide 1930'lu yıllarda süper güçlere kavuşan, dünyanın ilk süper kahraman neslini yavaş yavaş tanırken bir yandan günümüzde klasikleşmiş bu kahramanların görüşlerinin artık yeni nesil süper kahramanlara uymadığını görüyoruz. İkinci nesil süper güçlü insanlar, annelerinin ve babalarının izinden gidenler veya bu sorumluluğu kabul etmeyenlerle dolu ve neredeyse 100 yıldır dünyayı koruyan kahramanlarla genç kahramanlar arasında ciddi bir gerginlik oluşmuş durumda. Kahramanlık meselesini sorgulayan ve adım adım konunun derinine inen bir macera sizi bekliyor. Ama şimdi bu videoda sizi Anıl'ın Mark Millar ve ünlü oyuncularla birlikte gerçekleştirdiği röportajlarla baş başa bırakacağım. Kendisi yine heyecanlı ama bazen ciddi, bazen de eğlenceli sohbetler yaptı tabii. Ayrıca Stan Lee'nin öğütler verdiği birinden öğütler almak, hatta imzalı çizgi romanını almak da önemli bir şey bence. O yüzden isterseniz önce biraz daha ciddi bir yerden başlayalım ama sonuna kadar izleyin bence.
Hi, I'm Anıl from Turkey. So great to meet you.
Hi, Anil. How's it going?
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. We loved many stories of you when they have adapted into the big screen before, like Kick-Ass, Kingsman, Old Man Logan, and Marvel's Civil War. How Jupiter's Legacy differs from them to the new audience?
Do you know what? I think it's just so much bigger. We tried to make this as a movie at one point, in 2015. We were talking about it before Netflix, and we looked at it and we thought, this is like 10 movies. There's like too much material here. And James Gunn, who did Guardians of the Galaxy, he said to me, this is a television show. He said, you need 40 hours to tell this story. And he was right. He's very clever. He was absolutely right. So I think what makes it different from those other things is it's set over 100 years, this enormous ensemble cast, explores all these crazy themes, and where it goes just goes completely nuts. So yeah, I think bigger, I guess.
Okay, I wonder that. We see that in conflicts, as in Civil War and as in Jupiter's Legacy, you think with both perspectives. And how do you balance that? Like, how do you stay in that gray area when you write?
Well, what's really interesting, I think, that since the advent of social media, we've kind of forgotten as a species, is that everybody's a little bit wrong and a little bit right. Like nobody is 100% correct. But we have such a binary world now, don't we? Where everything is very black and white. But in reality, if you're Superman or a superhero like that, and you're not doing something to help people in horrible kind of human rights abuses somewhere on the planet, if you aren't going to step in and help them, it's kind of unethical, isn't it? So in a lot of ways, the children are right. The children of the utopian and everything, all these people who are whispering to each other about how things could be a little different. They're correct. But then I can also see the other side of it too, which is the old school superhero thing of we should actually stand back and respect what human beings are doing. Even if they're making mistakes in time, they'll eventually grow to the point where they do the right thing. And that's the fascinating conflict, because they're both kind of right. And they both feel they're right, of course, which always makes the best drama.
Yeah. Thank you. And for almost 100 years now with comics, you came up with fresh ideas and new heroes, but new writers had this feeling of nothing new we write won't feel new. Like we feel like we are doing parodies or recreations of the old characters. And how do you flow around with this idea as you manage to create new stories?
Well, Alan Moore once said to me, there's no such thing as bad characters or bad comics, there's just bad writers. And I think that's true. You just have to work a little harder. And as years go on, I guess in some ways there's less things you can do, but you can actually also use that to your advantage. Like something like Jupiter's Legacy, if we tried to show the world a project as ambitious as this, even 5 years ago, people would have been like, whoa, hang on, I remember when I was at Marvel, people been worried about all the Avengers being in one movie, saying, can audiences handle that many superheroes in one movie? And that was only 9 years ago that movie came out. So the idea now that we can do something as crazy as Jupiter's Legacy on such a grand scale, I love, so it does make you work a little harder, but you just have to think, like, what has never been done before? Where is the bar now? And try your best to go above that.
Great advice. Thank you. And as a comic book writer wannabe like myself, you're one of the most important figures to us. And I really want to know, after all the golden age and now after the modern age with you, is this a really good time to be a new comic book writer?
There has never been a better time to be a comic book writer. Don't believe anything you read online and everything, because people, when I was 17 and 18 trying to break into the business, I remember people saying, oh, it's nothing like as good as it was in the old days and everything. But the truth is, people always say that kind of thing. The truth is, in the old days, you didn't get to keep the rights to your characters. In the old days, they weren't making movies and television shows of our material, and the creators actually, getting paid the way they do now and everything. I mean, it's wonderful. Stan Lee said to me when he said to me in 2003 that I should start my own company and create my own characters. He said to me, if I had the opportunities your generation have got, I'd be seizing it with both hands. He said, I wouldn't be doing work for hire. I'd be off there creating new characters. And he was totally right. I mean, I would actually say, I mean, I'm a comics historian, right? I mean, I love comics. I live and breathe it, and I have done for almost half a century, but but there has never been a better time to be doing this. And I would say to anybody thinking about doing it, do it. If you've got love for it, do it.
Well, thank you so much. It was an honor to meet you, and thank you for your time.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
See ya. Thank you.
Don't you remember the island? And what we had to do?
Hi, I'm Anıl from Turkey. It's so nice to meet you.
Hi, Anil. Look at your room.
It's full of surprises.
It's amazing. Wow. Oh, you've got it all going on.
Yeah, I can give you some of this. Your room looks empty.
It is.
Okay, so here's my first question. In the story, both of your characters feels like the heroes can be in charge of more things, like they can be the authority themselves. And that makes the audience think if it is right. And how much credit do you give to your characters about that? Are superheroes beyond normal people?
I think when you're kind of creating a character, then you tend to, you don't have to necessarily like your character or agree with your character as an actor, but you fight for whatever they believe in. So yeah, Walter thinks he's absolutely, totally 100% right. And he's waited a long time for the chance to be proven right. But whether I think he's right, some of what I like, but I mean, I like a bit of all of them. I think that's what Mark Millar has been very clever with. You kind of go, oh, if I could have a little bit of Utopian with a little bit of Sky Fox and a little bit of Lady Liberty, but life's not like that.
Yeah. And Matt, are you in the gray area?
I think that I tend to agree with the characters that I play. I think that sort of happens naturally as you do try to empathize and find, your reasons, your justification for doing things that the character's doing. And then you kind of start to get on board. I mean, talking about Anakin Skywalker, clearly there are things that he does, like murdering children, that are not, I don't agree with that.
Really?
Let me just make that statement right now. But I do think that the more time you spend with the characters, I do think you sort of empathize with that character more in the things that they're thinking and the way that they're doing things. And I sort of think you have to. Yeah.
I guess it was a serious question. So here's a silly one. In Jupiter's Legacy, besides the story itself, of course, what was more fun? Like being in a suit or fighting in a green screen room with each other?
The suits are awful. I mean, they look absolutely fantastic. And when you put them on for 1 minute, you're like, this is amazing. But 14 hours later, oh man alive, they are the most uncomfortable things to wear. It's 3 different layers. And so it's a base layer, then a muscle layer, and then a skin. And then there are decorations on top of the skin. And your own skin can't breathe, you can't eat anything. If you go for a pee, you have to go with someone who unzips the suit and then holds the suits behind it. It's all humiliating and awful. And your body gets overheated, and then it can get really, really cold. There was nothing fun about the suits at all, other than on camera, they look absolutely amazing.
Yeah. My suit has like something like 800 different seams in it, because the cool thing that Liz Wolfe has done, our costume designer, she's designed each suit with its own, kind of bones in a way. Like they're literally designed different. It's not like a copy of the other one and then just printed differently on the outside. I mean, they're designed with different materials, different shapes. Like for me personally, Sky Fox's super suit is pieced together. There's all kinds of different materials in all kinds of fragmented pieces. So unfortunately, there are many, many, many seams. And as you know, seams don't really stretch and move much. So that makes it a bit difficult to tack on to all the reasons Ben said. When you're peeing, you kind of have to put your hands on the wall, like over the toilet, and just lean over and hope for the best. Like it's not a pretty picture.
Well, in the second season, I'm gonna watch you guys differently. Like they're uncomfortable.
In the second season, my suit is going to be green screened.
It's body paint.
Yeah. Well, it was so great to meet you. Thank you for your time. My time's up. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I want you to look at your room more.
90 years. 90 years, and what do we have to show for it?
We've made a difference, Shell.
Hi, I'm Anıl from Turkey. It's so great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. First, I gotta say that I'm on your side on the show. But the utopian comes from the golden age of heroes, and he doesn't want the old-fashioned ways to change. He has the strict code and a certain way to be a hero. But do you think that the utopian is all right about that?
It's a really good question. And we had many conversations about this because I just could not wrap my head around this code and why he was so rigid about not changing, because it didn't make any sense to me that if somebody's trying to kill you or kill somebody in your family, that you wouldn't kill them first. But he believes in it very strongly. He believes that there's always another way, that we can lock them up and we can put them away. But it made me think, though, when his son kills Black Star just before Black Star is about to kill me, he reprimanded his son for that. And it made me think, does this guy have a death wish? Is he done with all of this? It's hard for me to understand any other reason why, but I think that he is starting to learn that either he changes or he gets passed over. There is part of him that knows that he needs to change and needs to start listening to this new way of thinking, even though he may not agree with it.
Yeah. And part of the utopian's conflict is with his children, of course.
Yeah.
And what do you think that he's doing wrong about being a father? What advice would you give to your character?
Well, that's a really good question also, because I think one of his greatest regrets is having not been there for them more when they were growing up. He was so all consumed with being the utopian and all the responsibility that comes with that. And, this guy can see a dime on the face of the moon and he can shoot lasers out of his eyeballs and he can fly anywhere he wants to, but he cannot connect with his 20-year-old daughter. And that, to me, is what really the essence of that is what drew me to the show, is this human sort of perspective on it all. What happens when you aren't there for your kids? Well, this is kind of what happens. She's doing way too many drugs, and his son is feeling resentment towards his dad because he's not measuring up, and the pressures that he's putting on his son are starting to repel against him. And I think that he's a guy who now realizes that he needs to change, or they're going to change for him.
That's great. And I'm asking all the serious questions here, I know, but do you believe that superheroes should or should not be a part of the politics?
That part of it I agree with. The part of not getting involved in politics, for sure. I mean, both of these questions, I think personally about these as well. Like, to go back to the parenting thing, I look at Sheldon and I'm like, wait, you know what? Because I'm very busy right now and I got a lot going on, but I got to make sure that I stay connected to my boy and that he feels like he's the priority. As far as politics, I stay out of politics. Nobody gives a shit what I think about politics, so I stay away from it. And I think the superheroes should do the same.
Yeah, but I'm still with the same page with you. And it was so great to meet you. That was my questions and that was my time. And thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Brandon, Chloe, everything you do is a reflection on this family. You have to be the ideal.
No one can live up to the ideal.
Hi, I'm Anıl from Turkey. It is so nice to meet you.
Man.
I love your room, by the way.
Well, thank
Very
you.
cool. Yeah.
I can give all of you some things from here.
Send me a pillow.
So in this, oh, that's lovely.
I matched you with one sloth.
Yeah. Okay, I need to ask a question now. And so in this show, you're the children of popular heroes. And first, Andrew, your character chooses to be like his father and tries to understand him, but he's under a lot of pressure. And is the old generation of heroes should change their perspective, or your characters should follow their parents' steps?
I think they should change their perspective. You know, the whole conflict comes from with the younger generation's problems with the code, not necessarily a complete restructuring, but there are certain things I think which the younger generation could teach the older generation, and I think the older generation has potentially taught the younger generation as much as they can, or at least as much as the younger generation is willing to hear / willing to learn.
Yeah. Well, this was a serious question, and let's skip that.
Let's keep it light.
Yeah. Elena and Ian, your characters doesn't want to be a part of this hero business, and they want to be themselves. So, well, I'm asking for three of you, and if you had any superpowers in real life, would you join the union and take all the trouble about the code, or use your powers to yourself just to make your own life easier or fun? You don't have to be a bad guy.
That's a tough one.
Elena? Well,
Man.
Well, I feel like, honestly, from the perspective of Chloe in the show, the code and the union serve as like kind of a psychological prison for her. Like it's just judgment, it's pressure, it's being put in a box. She doesn't want to be put in a box. She's a free spirit. I think you can be outside of the code and outside of the union and not be a villain, not be a bad guy, and just, you know, you're following your own path. You're listening to yourself, and you're not letting labels get in the picture. And I think the legacy of the Samson family, which is kind of like the royal family of the superheroes, like that legacy is intertwined with the code, and it's just too much for Chloe to handle, and I think it's a lot for anybody to handle. So I think you just gotta do you.
Yeah, I've never been one for letting bureaucracy get in the way of a good idea. So like, I might be a good collaborator with the union to a point, and then I might just have to do my own thing anyway.
Yeah, I think I would skip out. You know, you can still be a good person and not be a part of the union. So I think if Brandon took a leaf out of their book, then he'd be a bit happier.
Yeah, well, I believe that we are all in this gray area. That's what I think. Okay, so for the last, my time is really going to its end now. And if you had to choose a superhero name for yourself in real life, what would it be?
Oh dear. Oh.
I know mine. Humpbacula.
What? What is your power?
Give you context.
No, I need to know what that power is.
Humpbacula. And I'll give you context because I'm very proud of my roots. As a Greek girl, Kamboudis in Greek means hunchback. I've said this before. And so I come from a long line of hunchbacks. So I would want to embrace that. And I would want like I could tell I've given this a lot of thought. I would want the hump to like be like exaggerated, and I would come around and it's like maybe I could help people. I could lift up people. You know, people could use it as a stepping stool if I like crouch on the ground. Like there's so many uses to a good hump. And I think you're just embracing that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's great.
My pesty mastermind.
Ooh.
Right? That's pretty good.
And Andrew?
Oh, I don't know. Like go something controversial, like the whore or something like that. So HORE using part of my name.
Okay.
But you know, it doesn't necessarily have to infer something sexual. But you know, you put me on the spot there. So it would either be that or like Randy Andy. So you know, one of those two.
You trying to save somebody from a burning building? It's like, thanks. Watch the hands though. Just watch.
Yeah.
It's like, careful, the whore is here.
You would be the most popular.
It would be a very different kind of show, I think. But you know.
Well, it was so great to meet you. My time is up, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Anil.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
man.